Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the Gym Tonic Podcast proudly present to you Tim, the Ace in Chase, Chris, 24 Karat Kenny, and me, Oliver, 24/7 Shred Stockwell. Oh, enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Gym and Tonic Podcast, episode 3, with me, Tim Chase, and co-host Mr. Chris Kenny.
Hey, the crowd goes wild in his yellow t-shirt, looking like a bumblebee.
Yes, love it, love it. I've gone in theme today, and it will become more clear as we go on. So what have you been up to this week, Chris? Talk to me.
Well, I found out my tyre's got a slow puncture in my car, so I looked at that earlier and I was like, oh, I better sort that out. That was fun.
Karma for last week, binning off dirt bikes.
Yeah, maybe someone just slashed my tyres, who knows.
You did.
It probably was. And last week I got my bench for my home workouts, so this week I've been hitting things a little bit heavier, a little bit different, and it's kind of cool, you know. So the home workout game has improved. I watched a bit of Umbrella Academy this week. I don't know if you've seen that.
No, that's one of the things. What was it a spin-off of? Is it a spin-off of a movie or show? I can't remember.
It's based off comic books, but they're kind of like completely separate from all the usual like Marvel, DC stuff. It's like completely. Yeah, I recommend that.
Yeah, I'll have to have a look. I haven't had a chance to watch Netflix for a while. Going back to your bench then, what new exercise have you been doing then? Have you got is it just you've been benching all day now?
You can see from my massive chest. Basically now I can do actual incline dumbbells because I got new weights as well. I got actual weight. So I can go up to about 25 kg in each arm, which is, reasonable. So I can actually do incline, I can do flat. Whereas before, I was literally just ghetto, on the floor, flat. So,
Propping you back up with pillows.
Yeah, not even that. I was just like, in the end, I was like, oh, whatever. Just do it on the floor. Getting cat hair and nails in my face. It's fine.
Well, mine's not been quite as exciting. I've got the good, the bad, and the damn right ugly for you today, mate.
Oh,
so
wow.
The good is that I've managed to drop them on the head. What's in your hand? 3 days now. No fizzy drinks, we'll say. No sweetener-based fizzy drinks. Diet Coke, Sprites, Monsters, Reigns. 3 days. So,
have you found it? And your energy levels?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I've substituted with coffee. So it's caffeine for caffeine. But I just feel like the amount of sweeteners I was drinking. I know there's no proven side effects, but the amount I was drinking was just getting a little bit absurd. 2 litres of Diet Coke and then 2 Monsters in the space of about 2 hours. My stomach, it's just not going to be optimal for digestion. So something is going to happen, or I'm just going to get completely dependent. Then the bad is my knee. It has been giving way every other step. So it is peeing me off. It's from the ACL. You remember the repair? Yeah, I think there's a bit of meniscus rattling around.
Floating around in some dead space. Nice.
Yeah, so I'm going to get some physio on Saturday, and hopefully that might just loosen off the surrounding muscles and might relieve it.
Yeah. Hopefully.
I hope. And the downright ugly, this is going on my YouTube channel very soon. I tried that death nut challenge.
Oh.
It started a bit went in my eye of one of the nuts, which was nearly game over, and then there's these packets, and you got to you're trying to get them out. Yeah, so I'm like, nah. And then obviously it literally, I felt like someone was in my head stabbing me, and I was like, oh God. So at 12:30 in the house on my own. This is the hottest day of the year. Was it on Friday? Oh. I then go for the death nut, which is what's it got in it? Carolina Reapers, so 2 of them, and capsicum crystals, which are 30 million Scovilles. They're hotter than the hottest chili peppers.
Yeah, that's
and it made me go a little bit deaf. I couldn't see properly. So that video goes up soon. So that'd be good.
That's one to watch. Everyone wants that.
That is my week. So I'm excited about today's guest. I think we should go straight into introducing him.
I know, he's got some big accolades to his name, hasn't he? Oh, definitely. For me as well, the whole home workout things. And I want to ask you something about the gyms, actually. But for our guest, he's like the king of home workouts. So for any of you, like me, still doing your workouts at home, this guy's going to come with a lot of good tips for you.
Yeah,
Back to what I was about to say.
he does some crazy things. I'm excited.
Yeah, I know, right? So gyms back open. What do we feel about gyms being open?
So I run a gym, and I've been quite lucky because my gym is like a private. I say private. It's more of a boutique gym, so low membership, paying that little bit extra to get a kind of better quality service than something like one of those budget gyms out there, Pure Gym or a Gym Group, which were perfect pre-COVID. So the gym I work in is ideal right now because it's spacious, it's clean, and there's not a lot of people.
Yeah, good.
I don't know what it's like in the so-called budget gyms or the leisure centres.
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? Because some people are going to have better standards than others in terms of hygiene and, keeping your distance. Some gyms are better, just, got more space. So they can actually space machines out a lot better. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a toss-up, isn't it? Because, they've opened restaurants, pubs and so on way before the gyms. So it's that kind of the balance, isn't it? Like if you can go to a pub, surely you could go to a gym at the same time. Why was it open so much later?
Yeah, I assume it's got something to do with, tax and obviously money at the end of the day. But when it comes to a gym, everyone's enters sober, or at least I hope they do. And they're quite cautious about what they're doing. You're putting your weights away, you're making a habit of cleaning, and eyes are on you. Whereas in a pub, I know that when I've been to a couple of pubs and bars, the security are very hot and keeping you apart. But there's surely loads I've seen where people are drinking and touching each other and hugging. And
of course, you've only got to look at some of the photos online, like obviously tabloids make it worse than it is. But I don't know, it's a tricky one. I think gyms for me probably should have opened at least the same time, if not sooner. But hey ho.
Yeah, it seems to be the home party seems to be the big issue, doesn't it? If you look at places that have gone back down into lockdown, there seems to be a lot of gatherings, and that seems to be kind of where it's escalating from. That and these so-called factories, I think that they're discovering now, where there's loads of workers in a cramped environment.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe it was right to hold off on the gym. Who knows? That's why I don't run a country.
That's why we leave it to you and the NHS to deal with. So let's get today's guest on. I am so excited. He is a model. He's an actor. He's a celebrity. So we're not going to go into too much more detail than that. We're going to get him on to explain it. And it is none other than Mr. I Am Exercise, Ollie Stockwell.
Oh.
He's coming. Here he is.
Oh.
Hey!
Here we go.
Oh, look at the shreds on that. Oh, look at that. What a
pose. Get in.
Look at that.
That's the end of the show.
That's it. Come on, everyone. Nailed it. So,
I picked Brother Tim up there for life.
So, Ollie, why the hell are you on this podcast? What are you trying to plug?
Well, it's funny you should say that, Brother Chris. I am, in fact, here to plug the big gaping void in entertainment left in the wake of episodes 1 and 2. They were very scientific. The only thing scientific about me is my natural chemistry with the camera.
Oh, that's an intro, isn't it?
This is brilliant. Everyone on Spotify is going, what is going on? You can't see anything. There's a shredded man. That's all you need to do.
He's posing, he's shredded, he's got golden Thor-like hair.
This is it. And for anybody that doesn't understand, that is how you beautifully deliver a pro wrestling style promo.
There we go. Oh, good. How have you been, Ollie? How's your week been?
Yeah, pretty fun, actually. It's not been that busy this week, just by virtue of having a few clients away, doing other bits and pieces. So it's been unusually quiet, which has meant a fair bit of time just dossing about. You're trying to sort of plug the gaps where you can, sort of, whether it be in just catching up a bit of much needed rest, getting some extra sessions in, in the garden more often than not these days, or I'm just watching plenty of pro wrestling. Can't go wrong with that.
That's absolutely outstanding, isn't it, really?
He's looking in good shape, mate. There's some absolute big boy veins there.
Yeah.
What I enjoy is the camera seems to add a bit of extra size and weight, so I don't look minuscule compared to you big league boys sat there.
Oh, I don't know about me.
It's what Chris has been saying about his face for the last week, isn't it, Chris? You've been saying it.
Yeah, that's it.
Ever expanding and getting pinker by the minute. Look at that.
So,
hold on. Sorry, Tim. Sorry to disturb. Hold that thought. I'm just getting a word from the production truck. Apparently, they want me to redo the show's intro. Somebody have me a mic, please. Cheers. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the Gym and Tonic Podcast proudly present to you Tim, the Ace in Chase, Chris, 24 Carat Kenny, and me, Oliver, 24/7 Shred Stockwell.
Oh.
Enjoy the show. I hope we weren't meant to be putting together a serious broadcast this evening.
I think that's long gone, mate, after I invited Chris on episode 1. Ollie, tell us.
Yeah.
Who is Exercise Ollie Stockwell? Who are you? What do you do?
Well, hopefully by now everybody's got a reasonable impression of that. Predominantly, I'm a personal fitness trainer. I tend to visit people in their homes, go around rat-a-tat-tatting on their door. You get a client that'd be inclined to turn their lights off and pretend they're not in. But providing they let me in, for you wrestling fans out there. And yeah, I've been doing it for the best part of 20 years now. But besides that, the last few years particularly, I've tried to branch off, somewhat winging it, somewhat knowing what I'm doing, and entered the world of acting. And sporadically, throughout the course of the last probably 15 years on and off, I've done odd bits of modelling.
Nice. Man of
and
many.
I'm currently auditioning for a second co-host role on this podcast.
Nice.
Two guests have said that.
It's a common theme. Where should we start, Chris? Where should we start? I think we should start with the acting, I suppose. Maybe acting and modelling.
Yeah, I
Cool.
think I want to get into the nitty-gritty of the acting side of things. So where did the acting journey start? How did you actually get into it?
All right. Well, years and years ago, I always used to quite enjoy drama lessons at school. I was never a particularly extroverted, outgoing, or confident young fellow at the time. But in drama lessons, I used to find that I would enjoy coming out of my shell. You know, it felt like everybody was in the same boat together. Nobody really wanted to do it. Everybody was a little bit afraid of getting up and making a fool of themselves. So that kind of gave me a little bit more confidence to step forward and say, do you know what, embrace this, because we'll all be a bunch of idiots together. And yeah, so years and years passed by, you know, various aspects of life got in the way, and I never really got round to doing much. But through my various travels with modelling, you know, you make one or two contacts, and one day somebody got in touch with me and said, look, basically, do you still look like you look, i.e. long hair and glorious, and said, are you still doing acting? So presumably back when I spoke to them, I couldn't entirely remember, I must have given them the impression that I had been looking to get into acting, or maybe I was bullshit bobbing and even told them that I had started acting. I don't really remember. So the point was, I said, would you be interested in being put forward for potential casting? What's it for? I said, it's quite confidential, but it's for the Game of Thrones show. I was like, whoa, yeah, that's it. I'm still acting. So off we go. You put your name forward, you get your name in the hat, they get your pictures, they take a look over you. And then I was accepted into the casting process. And I went through that casting process, didn't really think much of it other than I thought, oh, what a wonderful opportunity to gain a bit of experience. So as I say, kind of going back to the sort of winging it, half knowing what you're doing, I always believe that as much as you know, day-to-day basis, you're always stepping out the house and stepping into the unknown and having to kind of make fine judgment as you command your way around life. But at the same time, we're always dropping little seeds, aren't we? So for me, efforts that I had made in the past, just in being personable with people, doing a good job, basically just trying my best and being polite when it comes down to it. Whenever you get some kind of job doing anything, it's always a good approach to take. So people remembered me, and therefore this strange opportunity fell on my lap because she remembered me. So yes, I went through the casting process, didn't hear much for a few weeks. So I thought, oh, well, you know, it's just lovely to have been thought about. And as I said, it kind of gives me a little bit of a boost. And then suddenly she got in touch and said, oh, you've been whittled down for the final 3. It's like banging, you know, already I'm pleased with that. That'd do me. And then heard nothing again. So once more I was thinking, yeah, clearly I've not got this. And then I got a phone call. And she says, we're going to fly you out to Spain in about 8 days. We need to confirm your passport details, flights, and that's. So I've got it, basically. Amazing. So obviously the casting was successful. I'd impressed some people in that process. So again, that kind of boosted my confidence. In the back of my mind, I was also thinking, this can't be true. This is a bit of a dream come true, this. Great opportunity. Somebody's winding me up. So anyway, regardless, I thought, you know, what's the harm? I'll soon find out if I'm being sex trafficked or something. So I sent over my passport details, and off I went to Spain. And still, I wasn't really given much information about what I'll be doing, other than that it might be of a slightly hedonistic and erotic nature. But most importantly, that I would potentially be a Dothraki barbarian. And I was like, sick. I love those. They're my favourite characters. I have a bit of that. So I went out there. I ended up in some airport. I forget exactly which one it was at this stage. I think it began with M. But regardless, beside the point, I met this very large woman. She spoke very thick Spanish and not a lick of English. I was the opposite. So I thought, doesn't entirely inspire you with confidence as I get into a van and start driving through these valleys and mountains with her, and then eventually turn up at a warehouse, and you're still thinking, definitely being trafficked. So as I entered the warehouse, I saw all these incredible costumes, outfits, all these kind of accessories everywhere, just a hive of activity. And I thought, God damn, this is real. This is actually happening. All right, I better, at this stage, I'm always a bit like that. So like if I'm going on a holiday, I don't really accept that I'm going off to do something cool, just even a holiday, until I'm there. You know, my mind's already preoccupied with whatever the other days involve. So I kind of didn't allow myself to believe it, I think, until then, besides those strange paranoias. And see, I'm still kind of just wandering around this warehouse thinking, oh yeah, hello, it's me from London, Ollie over here. Anyone know what I'm supposed to be doing? You know, and eventually somebody come and found me, basically to ask who the hell are you, what are you doing here? And off I went and got fitted up and sort of outfitting all this. I had spent about 8 days prior, like I said, it was very last minute that I found out I had it. And fortunately, I've always kept myself in pretty decent shape. But I went mad for 8 days on the basis that I was given the impression that I might be shirtless. So anyway, when I was eventually fitted with gear, it appeared that I probably wouldn't be shirtless. I'll be wearing some kind of armour. Oh, well, you know, whatever. Had a good fun 8 days and a bit of practice for future reference. In fact, at the time, I think I had sourced information via our mutual friend Neil, from Tim, who obviously has big background, has done for many years in bodybuilding. So I sourced this a little bit of information about what you might do last minute to get stage ready. So I was playing off the back of that. You know, I still have to refer back to my notes whenever I try to recall what is it that I do last minute. I can never retain that information for some reason. And I know there's red wine involved. There was copious quantities of water and constant journeys to the toilet and all that. No. So yeah, so long story short, although clearly I'm not capable, I got a proper job. So sized up, sent off to this hotel, really plush, fancy hotel, where I pretty much spent the next sort of 2.5 days on this all-expensive paid holiday. It was nuts, like on a sort of mini date to Fernando, was it Fernando's, Isle of Fernando's, all on my own. Me and my own company, having the time of my life. One of those fancy toilets that spray your butthole. I was like, I've made it. It's absolutely, what an experience. I genuinely, the first night I was there, just wandered around this hotel giggling because I thought, this is unreal. There's like lovely little view out the window, this very gothic place, Almeria, whichever way you pronounce it. And yeah, so I was constantly in touch with the assistant director. They always refer to them as the AD. And just trying to work out what is it that I'm supposed to be doing and when am I actually going to be doing some work. And for the most part, I couldn't even get through to anybody. So I was just kind of just milling about thinking, well, I better stay ready. I better not stray too far away. I better not get drunk, anything like that. So I kind of summoned the courage from within and learnt a few key Spanish phrases just so I could go out and not starve. So that was useful. And, you know, I had a merry little time for a few days until eventually I was informed that, okay, you're actually going to be working tomorrow. We're going to pick you up at 5 p.m. So I was like, oh, it's basically another day off then, isn't it, really? What a life this is. I could do this acting lark. This is all right. And what was quite a lulz is every time you kind of walked through the corridors of this hotel, you'd come across people that you recognised from the show on various degrees of stardom. So that was pretty sick. And so I got picked up, went back to this warehouse, finally met the girl that I was going to be working with. And fortunately, she was also a Brit, so she spoke the same language as I did, which immediately alleviated some of my nerves because we'd be doing God knows what to each other, all very sordid. And so we could build up a bit of a rapport. So we kind of fortunately hit it off and we were very comfortable in each other's company. We got fitted out, had this awesome little moment by which they were going to, just in case my top was going to be decided to be removed, they were going to paint some abs on me. And after they had organised themselves, they took one look and said, oh, we don't need to. I was like, yes, go on that advice, Tim and Neil. That served me beautifully. Because I definitely didn't have such good looking abs the sort of 8 days prior when I first got the phone call to say off your pot, buddy. And yeah, so then we were working throughout the course of the evening, sort of right through the night, doing this scene. I was really excited because the guy that was directing at the time, Daniel Sackheim, is quite prominent in the industry, and he's done a few shows that I've enjoyed in the past, so I sort of recognised the name and thought, oh wow. And the first thing he sort of said to us was, you know, are you aware of the show? Do you watch Game of Thrones? I'm like all excited, like yes, you know, playing it cool, I'm supposed to be here kind of thing. We had like our own trailer in this desert, you know, actors over there. I'm like, sweet, I'm an actor, I have some of that, got to get used to this. And he kind of trusted us. He gave us a bit of a skeletal script of what it was we were going to be doing. And we had 2 main scenes to work on, which were based in this Dothraki barbarian village. It was all very party going and celebratory. For anybody that watches Game of Thrones, I think it was loosely episode 3, season 6, at a period when 2 of the key characters in the show were going to rescue the mother of dragons, Khaleesi, from the village. And it all finished in everything being set ablaze. And as you can tell, as I'm still sitting here now, I survived the blaze. So we performed these 2 scenes, which was quite epic because every time we sort of had a break between takes, we were getting lots of like cheers and applause from all the Spanish extras that were there. I sort of communicated with them vaguely as best I could, but it really made you feel like you were doing a good job. So I was constantly being sort of fueled on adrenaline, and then my confidence grew as we went on, and I got to sort of take a few tips from a guy, Ian Glenn, who's quite a prolific British actor who plays a character called Jorah in the show. And at one point he came up to us and complimented what we were doing and suggested a really good idea. He said, I love what you're doing. How about when there was this one particular scene I had to drag her onto my lap and we had to start kissing, basically. That was near the kind of start of this whole situation. So after you've done that with somebody several times you don't really know very well, you know, you soon get to know them. And so he said, how about rather than, you know, sort of trying to drag him up by his hair, I think it was, how about you drag him up by his chest plate? So in fact, buggery, I'm wearing this bloody chest plate. So, you know, would have much preferred if I didn't have that, given all the gym work I'd done. But regardless, you know, whatever, it's amazing. So that was cool. And he was surprisingly strong, this dude, as well, because at one point he dragged me up by the chest plate to show her what to do. And I, you know, went flying across the village. And so after that, essentially, she comes sauntering through the crowd, got the old boom, 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 going, all this kind of, you know, my back is to the main camera during this scene to begin with. So for all intensive purposes, I'm like, method acting 101. All I can see and hear is this reality in front of me. And for all intensive purposes, I'm dressed like a very authentic character. So I'm no longer me. I am now whoever I choose to be, who is this wild, barbarian, absolute don I decided that I was. So over she came, draped her up, done our bit of kissing and all that. Then eventually she grabbed me up by the chest plate. Then at which point I had to like rip her top off, basically. So out we go. And then she leads me off down the village, and then it's going to be a sort of different scene that we're filming. So we sort of went away and come away and then started filming several takes of the next scene. And that involved leading me off down the village for these different shots. And eventually we'd get to sort of like a sty, like you might get dividing fields, sort of wooden sty up against a wall, this kind of huts, all this kind of animal pelts on it, I guess, very Skyrim, and for those gamers out there. And essentially, she's then at this point ripped my trousers down. I had like a kind of special release cord system in place, so my trousers pretty much just got whipped straight off, you know, to my ankle. And I'm wearing this very special little, how do they describe it? A modesty pouch. It's like a little coin bag over your essentials, over essential oils. And then I've basically hoisted her up, you know, full of adrenaline. So you sort of send her straight through the stars. Up she goes, and you have a right good time up against this sty with all the animal pelts. And we had to do that a few times. And obviously by now, you know, it's quite a show for all the various extras that were just getting to like hang about and watch what we're doing. They were just like having a right time cheering us on. It was hilarious. But again, at the same time, you're being given, you know, good feedback, and you're thinking, Christ almighty, what a sick job. This is so unexpected. And then, I don't know, I think this is all going on loosely between God knows when. It could have been, you sort of lose track of time, I think. But it could have all been going in and out and doing bits loosely between kind of 9:30, 10 p.m. until about 1 in the morning, at which point they called for lunch at 1 p.m. And I'm like, oh, it's about my sick lunch by now. I didn't know what time I was working today, so I've been up since like 8 or 9 or something, you know, getting prepped. So, you know, you get involved in your sort of 1 a.m. lunch. Probably the lucky buggers that had actually been informed ahead of time what time they'd actually be working that day. They probably didn't wake up till 5 or 6 or something very reasonable. So I'm on like my second day by now, but as I say, was massively fueled by adrenaline. Unfortunately, because I was quite mudded up to make me look a bit dirty, that probably sort of hid the kind of lines and fatigue on my face. And yeah, then we went and sat in this little tent with this fellow Ian Glenn. And I was like, this is sick, this is cool. So, you know, what was quite an eye-opener for me is you're all kind of mixed in together by and large, no matter what the scale of your job was. I mean, if you were there in an acting capacity, and this was like a sort of featured scene that you get credited for at the end of the episode, which is, again, an amazing way to start. As it kind of fills you with more ambition when you do something and you kind of feel as though you can be proud of it. And as I say, you see your name coming up at the end of the episode. It's pretty sweet. But it was so cool to see that these top stars, these mega stars of the show, they're just sat in the same little tent with you with their 1 a.m. lunch, you know, pulling out their book. You know, you sort of don't want to disturb them, but they turn around and start chatting to you. So like, great, I'm in, let's have one then. And yeah, it's really sweet. And then for the rest of the evening, which probably went on till, I don't know, 5, 6 in the morning, it's pretty much just dossing about on a, you know, little funny little fishing type chair in the middle of a desert, looking at the stars, having a chat, having a laugh with the girl I was working with. She was great fun. So that was, again, very fortunate. So you just kind of sit there the whole time, can't quite believe in what you've just experienced. And then I stayed in a different hotel the next night, which again was equally pretty cool. But not before we were driven back to the warehouse, basically a bus full load of barbarian people. That was well funny, that was. You'll get out in daylight the next morning and go walking down the street with these Dothraki horde, sort of suddenly back in civilization, looking like you've just come out of Comic-Con. Yeah, so then off to this hotel, probably slept for a few hours, and then we were both picked up. We were both at the same hotel at this stage, dropped off at the airport, had a bit of another lunch, and then off you go. She flew off to Manchester, I flew off to London. We sort of stayed vaguely in touch since as mates. And you sort of think, what a great impression it left on me as my first job. And as I say, it came through, in a sense, winging it, but on the basis that I'd been scattering so many seeds in the ground for years and years and years prior to that. And slowly but surely, some of them started to sprout leaves. And I grabbed hold of that plant and ran with it, basically. And, you know, as I said, it went well. And I always feel that's something that we should all attempt in life. I think it's something that we can all really grow from, is when we decide, you know what, who cares? If I fall on my face, I fall on my face. You're always going to learn from it. You just pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and have another go, don't you? But how many regrets might we hold on to if we don't capitalize on these opportunities? And sometimes the smallest opportunity can grow into something much bigger, which actually at the start of this year, because that was a few years back, I decided that I need to get off my butt and start to pursue creative passions a little bit more, because I find that, for me personally, what really fulfills me is any opportunity to be creative. So something like acting is ideal in that respect. So I started to decide that what I really need to do is to stop being so picky on the basis that I've been fortunate to have created a reasonably successful personal training business for myself over the years. And that keeps me busy, you know, it gives me a good stable income. So what I really need to do is maybe just to start picking up some of these smaller acting jobs just to further bolster my experience. And as I say, on the basis that sometimes you get into these smaller roles and you really make the most of that opportunity, and somebody picks you out of the crowd and gives you something more substantial to do, which is something that happened to me at the start of the year when I went and done some filming on the upcoming Marvel movie Venom 2. Which I can't particularly talk about that one just purely because it's not out yet. But other than it was, you know, I've got to sort of dress up like some sort of lion tamer in Jeff Hardy style, neon face paint. And it's pretty sick. And there's lots of partying and stuff again. And yeah, fortunately, behaved myself, threw myself into it, wasn't lazy, took every opportunity. That's the thing. Often you find, particularly if you go and take on jobs in the capacity, even as like an extra part of a crowd, whilst a lot of people are there because they have a certain drive and passion for it, you'll be astonished by how many people moan, whine and complain because the days are so long and they're so exhausting. And in my mind, I think people pick up on that just on the basis that from some of the experiences I've had, I try to stay positive. And I think part of that is physical fitness, because you look after yourself on a normal daily basis, you've got the endurance. So when some lazy pests are all sat on the floor, getting all grumpy because we've been shooting the same scene for the last 4 hours and it's cold, I'm still standing up, I'm ready for another turn, I'm like, come on, let's do this. And people receive you much more positively as a consequence. Next thing you know, you've been positioned over there and you're doing something a little bit more. And you're like, bingo, that's what I need. So again, it's another thing of just, if you are passionate about something, throw yourself into it. And that's a lesson, as I say, I've been teaching myself. It doesn't matter how minuscule it is, because it can grow into something else. So at the very least, it's fulfilling. You have a good time with it. And I think that's the key to life more than anything, is do what makes you happy. We all need to develop a degree of financial stability. Of course, we need to eat, need to drink, need to sort of safe shelter. But I find personally a lot more fulfillment through pursuing my passions, big or small, than I do in making my focus all about money. And sort of by lining into the fitness industry, I think the approach that I've taken that has made me successful as a personal trainer is that I don't worry about the money side of things. I know that if I work hard, if I apply myself, if I learn, if I keep refreshing my knowledge, and I work as hard as I can with my clients, and I'm good to them, that the money will come. You know, recommendations are made. As I said, I've been doing it for the best part of 20 years now. And I think that doesn't happen unless you're willing to invest yourself and put your energy into it regardless. And you mix with a variety of people. The everyday person, sometimes you end up with, I'm not even going to say that to work with a celebrity is necessarily more exciting than it is to work with sort of Joe Public, because it just depends what sort of rapport you develop with people and how happy you are to go to work. Because a lot of people, sadly, are pretty grumpy, aren't they? They don't enjoy their work. It causes a lot of stress. And for me personally, I find myself quite fortunate that the vast majority of my stress comes from sitting in fucking London traffic. So other than that, I turn up at work and it sort of repairs all damage caused on the bloody road, because I'm going to have a good time and I'm going to have a laugh with people. And also you're going to try to entertain them. They're probably going to entertain you back. And then that acts as a good distraction to them while they're trying to work out. So you're more able to get in the boat with them, off you go, and really achieve a result. Does that make sense? Yeah. I probably deviated massive from the course there.
I'm just waiting for you to get your mic and just like that about 8 times. It was absolute mic drop moments. You were just like, that was it. I was ready to end the podcast after a couple of those sentences.
Power of positivity was shining through that, wasn't it?
I mean, this is it. New day rocks. Day rocks.
There's probably about 20 different things that, as you were talking, I wanted to go down, different avenues.
Sorry, mate. I'm a horrendous chatterbox.
What we'll do, we'll have to get like 20 different episodes to explore a lot of these things. you grew up. I don't think we need to touch on them a lot because I think you did such a good way of explaining, opportunities, staying positive. So I don't know, Chris, if you want to explore anything more about the acting. I mean, I want to know, what did they give you requirement-wise to do that job? Were they saying you need to be shredded, or are they saying you need to be a certain percent body fat, or just turn up as your photos show?
Yeah, I think it's very interesting in that respect because it can be very loose when it comes to that industry. Because to the regular everyday person, because for example, you've got the mindset, Tim, that you've worked in the fitness industry for a long time, you studied within that field, and you've done bodybuilding competitions, or I don't always know the terms, men's physique, and obviously your listeners will know when I say bodybuilding that I'm generalizing, I would imagine. If so, I'm generalizing. And brother Chris, it'd be much the same for you. You've done contests, you've got out there and straight stuff and look like an absolute certified G on stage, much as Tim has. So there's a certain mindset that comes with that hardcore level of discipline. Mm-hmm. Whereas to the everyday person, for example, I'm generally kind of smaller of stature than you guys. If I turn up on TV, or I've done modeling jobs over the years, and that you turn up and they're like, "Oh, you're a bit big." Like, what? I'm actually not. But as I say, sort of the old screen. Let's just remind everybody how it adds a few pounds, and it does. So often the requirements are a little bit more slack in that respect, because to look, and you've watched TV shows before, and you've seen like sort of barbarian characters, or a guy gets his shirt off, and they don't look anywhere near your level of discipline or standard in that respect of muscle, definition, density, mass, fitness, anything. But they look good. They look appealing to the eye, and they look like a sort of slim, healthy, toned body. So you get things like that. It's like I had a body double job potentially for the actor Rhys Ifans several months back for the movie Kingsman, which is trying to think if it's what this one's called. It's like the prequel to that, by which he plays the role of some Russian Tsar. Who's that fella called? Anyway, someone in history. I forget. It's back in my mind at the moment. But beside the point, so I went and done a body double job, and it turned out that I was apparently sort of looked too muscular for that role.
It's funny you say that. Funny you say that. I had a meeting with Men's Health and Men's Fitness to be a cover model. They selected me. I went down to the head office, chatted to the producer, whatever they're called, or the guys that produce the magazine, and it was the same feedback. And I don't think they know what they're looking for. I'm guessing this is the same for acting. They have a loose script, and then or a loose idea, and then they see you and think, that's who I want.
This is it. And you'll be amazed how much goes into sort of intuition in the moment, and the kind of creative freedom of making it up as you go along. Mm-hmm. Like whenever I've worked on these big movie sets or television sets, or even more recently a music video that I've done, they have a reasonable idea of, I would say loosely, what they want to create. And even with some of the like big actors in these movies, they're often kind of fed scripts and lines, some not always, but sometimes in short bursts, like fragments, and then they go and they polish up and they record that scene, they get it right. So they don't necessarily need to know all the dialogue. It's kind of irrelevant, basically. So yeah, I think that's often the case when you turn up for a lot of these modelling and acting gigs, is that's kind of what the casting process is about. And sometimes you can literally just get cast based on a picture alone, and then you'll turn up, and on the basis that you've been cast, they're kind of like, well, are you going to use you now? Or they might be a bit like, okay, actually, maybe we've got something else for you, or, so it can be quite blasé, really.
A bit like a job interview then. You've got to just kind of go with how you feel comfortable and kind of hope you fit what they're looking for, really, I suppose, and be yourself and put a bit of thought to it. Think, what should I wear? How should I look? Do I need to be lean like you did? And I think, you probably made the right decision doing the 8-day cut, because I'm guessing that's what probably impressed them when they saw you put that amount of effort in.
Yeah, and that's it. And I just thought, if I'm going to go out and do something, to me, our body, our physicality, it's not just a sort of carriage, like a vessel for the mind, but it's also a representation of who we are. Mm-hmm. So I want to be perceived as who I know myself to be. So I work hard physically to put my best foot forward in life, if that makes sense. So I, care about my presentation in that respect. This for me is my little piece of creativity. And I've spent years kind of honing the way I want to appear, because that's the way that makes me feel confident about who I am. And if I'm a confident person, then you kind of give yourself this free license to go out into the world and do whatever you like, because you're happy with who you are, So it all feeds in, I think, to having a sort of positive mental health is what I'd suggest. So for me, I didn't want to go and do this job, that first one, and then come away and see myself on screen in case I was going to be like quite physically exposed and think to myself, oh God, I look like shit. I wanted to be like well proud of that. Yeah. So that's that. You don't know how many jobs you're going to get in the future. If that's the only thing you ever do, you're going to be able to look back at it and be like, boom, look at me.
Definitely. I suppose that feeds into your modelling side as well. At the very start, you were talking about the modelling kind of fed into the acting. Briefly, how did you get into the modelling side of your kind of repertoire?
I like how you phrase briefly for Ollie.
Totally. I'll try my best. Years and years back, I just thought to myself, that would be a nice way again just to try to push myself into the unknown and challenge myself. As I said, I didn't particularly grow up an awfully confident person. I thought I look all right, I'm not absolutely butters, so maybe I can do this, and I thought it would be a means again just to sort of expose myself into a challenging situation and see if I sink or swim. So I took some photographs of myself at home and put them up on a modeling industry, photography industry platform, like a kind of portfolio site, and started to just take little bits here or there, doing what they describe as time for print. Used to be the phrase, but you don't often work in print so much now. So it might be the case of then it was kind of like time for CD. You get a CD of your images, or in this case, they're just digitally transferred, isn't it? Things like WeTransfer or Dropbox or whatever else. And the point is it's an exchange of time. Yeah. I'm going to turn up, I'm going to give you my time, you're going to give me yours, and we're going to produce something, hopefully creative, our own version of a little piece of art together that we can then use to promote our capacity as a model and a photographer. So I was doing fair bits of that just to build up confidence and a little bit of experience. And then via those same mediums, I managed to score a few jobs. And for a short period, I was very oddly typecast doing like country fashion, and done a few modelling shoots for this regular magazine called Country Life, where I was sort of wearing a flat cap and a big old rifle over my shoulder. So that was a laugh. I always remember one where I turned up and obviously I'd given them the wrong measurements because this coat was massive. But they used it in the catalogue, so I was like, looks a bit rubbish, but I don't mind. I got paid and I'm in a catalogue. It's pretty sweet. And then as I started to grow my hair, I ended up getting typecast doing things like gothic clothing type catalogues.
Yeah, I remember that.
And, yeah, that's it. So I used to do some real mad stuff then, because they used to get you just kind of like howling at the moon and all sorts of business. And then sort of like superimposing these graphics onto your t-shirt and then they'd sell them in there. Very big in Germany, spiral direct catalogues and stuff like that. And then like the Hoff, innit? And so I'm well famous in parts of Germany. Sort of like in the sort of was it BDSM dungeons or whatever, something like that. Maybe I don't know. They're called. Yeah, or sex swing. And there's some fella with a t-shirt with maybe my face on it. And yeah, and then I've gone on a bit long again. And yeah, then I just like every now and again, like I said, I've always been busy on PT, so I've only ever really kind of had half a hand in doing other bits for my own enjoyment. And it's allowed me to cherry pick jobs that I think sound interesting. And more than anything, I base it on, oh, that'd be an experience, that'd be a laugh, I'd like to do that. And every now and again, you get something cool. Like I had that national campaign for that estate agents, where it got in touch and there's like, look, we want you to do this shoot. It's going to be for this campaign. And the title of the shoot is Rock God. And I'm like, give me some of that. Sounds pretty sweet. I don't mind being described as a rock god. So I had to like sit on this massive big amp holding this incredibly expensive guitar I didn't really know how to play, and most importantly, not drop. And then they took all these photos and then they started popping up all over London.
Yeah.
On a tube. But I was getting texts from my nephew to say I'm in Hammersmith, and he stood next to this dirty, great big poster of me behind him at the bus stop. Then we're out all together on holiday, weren't we? And I got a message from my dad. He's reading the Evening Standard. And there's a big old page with my bonks on it with this guitar. And I was like, oh, this is so much cooler than I realised it was even going to be. So just things like that. It really is just kind of throwing yourself in head first to things. And I always think if you turn up and if you're rubbish, you're rubbish. Never mind. No skin of mine, though. It's their problem. You know, and equally at the same time, if you turn up and you don't like the scenario that you've landed in, you can always say, look, I'm very sorry, but I'm going to have to excuse myself from it. And, you know, you sort of take whatever burden comes as a consequence. But I just think it's just worth kind of gambling on yourself sometimes.
I mean, that goes, we've got a couple of listener questions regarding the acting modelling. The first one is, what is your favourite modelling job or acting job?
Favourite, I think, was definitely that Game of Thrones one, just because that was funny as hell, and it was the whole experience. Like I said, I genuinely hand on heart did believe at one point that I was being sex trafficked into Spain, and I thought, I don't know who I've upset, but this can't be real. So that's just where my mind went. So it's just this wild kind of roller coaster of emotions that I put myself on purely because I was sort of, obviously, I don't know why I had that paranoia in me, and then to kind of throw myself into something, and then to keep finding that it was so much more than I realised it was even going to be as time progressed. And it was such a whirlwind. And off the back of that, I think it kind of allowed me to grow sort of in stature, if you like, in confidence, to say, do you know what, if I can do that, that was mental, then why not throw yourself into other things and take those opportunities?
Who was the most famous actor you've ever worked with?
I think I've obviously mentioned a few times Ian Glenn. Now, for Game of Thrones fans, that's pretty famous. However, I would suggest, for my own personal taste, Tom Hardy topped that at the start of this year during Venom 2.
Oh, that's big. And the last listener question on this topic is, what are the first steps someone would take if they wanted to get into acting? And that is from @TimChaseFitness.
What a time, Tim Chase Fitness. Well, I would suggest I'll send you some details, but
you want who wants to get involved.
What you want is just to put yourself forward for some supporting artists, agencies. The types of agencies, one in particular that I'm a fan of is called We Got Pop. Another one is called Casting Collective. There's another one called Mad Dog, who I only just recently joined earlier this year before everything went to pop. And any of those, if any more come to my mind, I'll either comment on the YouTube section for this video.
Let me know. I'll put some links.
But yeah, this is it. Investigate their websites, and you'll essentially submit some forms. You'll likely be asked in for a meeting, like a kind of very informal casting type progress, which is pretty basic. And because what's interesting about even aiming to enter the work of an extra is that they need people of such a variety, shapes, sizes, looks. So you can always enter in that capacity, and you might find that opportunities arise out of that, such as featured scenes, bigger roles. It's just a good foot in the door.
Nice, awesome. So we've mentioned obviously quite a lot about acting and modelling, and the whole sort of reason I'm guessing that you ended up being so successful, part of it was your look and the fact you take so much care over, you know, how you look, your health. So when it comes down to that part of your life with the personal training, what sort of clients are you typically working with? Are they people that are similar to you, or have you got a kind of a variety of different clients?
Yeah, really quite varied, actually. Quite a percentage of my clients are older people, kind of talking age range 50 up to 80 even. I mean, I've got one fellow in particular that I'm really proud of. Shout out to Michael, who's 81 years old and can do a good 20 push-ups, no hassle. So, you know, you look at that end of the spectrum, you're kind of managing people's wear and tear, any potential ailments they might have gone through. Shout out to Martin, who suffers with Parkinson's. And we do a lot of boxing together, for example. Boxing, if anybody's unaware of that, might be quite a handy tip, is really quite good for motor function, fine motor skill, and just essentially an aerobic workout at the same time. You don't have to be particularly skilled at boxing in order to incorporate that into a regime. And I do a lot of boxing with him. So I do work on quite a variety of people. And then probably the people that I work with and have worked with over the years that are most like myself, a couple of the guys from the band McFly, just because we're a similar age, and their goals, if you like, have essentially been more about general health, mobility, strength, and then aesthetics, you know, creating a nice appearance for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, you've answered two of my questions about the McFly, because obviously I was going to delve into them and a little bit more detail. The main thing I wanted to know was what were their goals. So it was an aesthetic thing, because as shallow as we are as humans, people like to look at their pop stars in good, healthy shape and aspire to look like them. But was there any other goals they had? Because I'm guessing it was pretty stressful for them going on all these tours and keeping their fitness levels up.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, a little bit like I expressed with regard to myself earlier on in this fine and illustrious podcast, it gave me confidence to build myself up. And for those guys, it was a similar story. You imagine these, you know, they're very famous. They perform worldwide. They've had all these smash hits. They've been going for, you know, all our adult lifetime. Like, off the top of my head, it might be about 15 years. They've been at it now, more or less, I think. And you'd be surprised when you do get to know people on a more intimate basis. They don't always have the level of confidence in themselves that we presume they have. They're just the same as me and you, but with a damn cool job, you know, and that job affords them a certain lifestyle and, again, other opportunities that they're hopefully able to explore and make the most of. So the national treasures that are McFly, they, like you and I, equally, you know, suffer with a little bit of, you know, challenge of self-esteem, of confidence. And so as a consequence, you know, you get in, you do your workouts, you feel good about yourself as you start seeing your body transform. And then you see yourself probably in videos, on television interviews, and you are probably proud of what you've achieved with the success of your exercise. So there's all these little kind of mental cues that I think we give ourselves when we look after ourselves.
And I guess you carry yourself different as well. I'm guessing they almost carry themselves different in interviews, on stage. So what would you say their biggest struggle was working with them? Was it their training? Was it the nutrition? Was it their party lifestyle? What was the biggest thing that you had to work with?
I mean, when I first got to meet them, I, for example, first started working with Harry on the drums and of Strictly Come Dancing stardom. And to begin with, he really just wanted to learn more about exercise and how to look after himself, and he never really felt like he wanted to pack on lots of muscle, but wanted to feel a bit more grown up. So I say it's kind of going back a good 10 years ago, and what we achieved in a relatively short period of time by employing the same sorts of strength training techniques that I use in myself, and a lot of this happened using resistance bands, body weight, or portable dumbbell equipment that I might lug around in the back of my car or something. A lot of screw lock dumbbells you can just adjust. It wasn't necessarily massively heavy weights. We were spending enough time focusing on accurate form and technique and time under tension on the muscles so that we could create a breakdown in that muscle fiber per session, and then create something of an awareness as to how to replenish those muscles during the rest period. And in a very short period of time, he really packed on quite a bit of muscle. And then it grew on him. You know, he liked what he was seeing. He felt good about it. And blimey, just the other week, I don't necessarily do PT sessions with him anymore, so much as I still do them sporadically with Dougie on the base. And but Harry, the other day, he popped around my place just because you sort of come mates with a lot of your clients. And again, I suppose coming from being a similar age and a lot of shared interests, we sometimes just get together and have workouts together. So he popped around mine the other day for a garden session, and he pulled out his phone and he was showing me some pictures. He said, "Look at this. I was sorting these out recently. Here's me back at the start when we started working out." And I thought to myself, damn, things are starting to change rapidly. Let me take a few photos to kind of diary entry this. And then he showed me a picture from a few months down the line, and it was an incredible sort of metamorphosis, this muscle that he'd packed on. And I think it can be quite addictive. Once we start, I think for a lot of people, it's probably a lot like tattooing, for example. You know, it is all means of artistically expressing ourselves. It's like I described that I do with me earlier. I like to try to artistically express myself through the way I create and hone a physique. So like I say, so as a consequence, he started to enjoy strength training, started enjoying muscle development. Whereas on the other hand, Dougie, who I've pretty worked with for several years on and off now, probably one of the biggest challenges is travel. So when they go away to perform, or there was a period in time where he was really exploring acting also, and he was spending a lot of time out in LA. So you'd kind of just catch each other when you were around. So when opportunities arose, I tried to be as flexible with my time as I could be, and I tend to do it with all my clients. So we could lock down some sessions, hit it hard, and make the most of our time together. And what I always like to do with my PT clients is really try to hone their own skills and understanding, try to embed a degree of physical awareness in them, that they know good form and they know good technique, they understand their posture and they know how to work. So then they can adapt when we're not together and in a sense, just carry on without me, you know? So no matter where they are and what circumstances they're in, they've got a reasonable understanding of method, basically, yeah?
What would your tips be then to people that are working out from home to get these kind of sort of amazing results? Because a lot of people have the excuse that if you haven't got access to a gym, that you therefore, there's no point eating healthy and trying to train because you're at a disadvantage. So what sort of tricks and tips do you use to actually elicit these results from training at home?
Every time I have a workout, and I tend to have something of a split, so I usually have 4 or 5 distinct workouts that I've designed for myself, and then I'll just circle through them. And then I might have an additional day or two, depending on what I want to do in that week. If I want to work out 5, 6 or 7 days, where I have a few add-ons where I think, I could do a bit more work here, do a bit more work there. But I will record meticulously how many repetitions that I achieve, how many sets that I complete of an exercise, and what weight that I'm using. So then when I come back to that session the following week, whether I want to do it or not, I'm going to make myself do it, first of all, foremost. Consistency is I would say, is the key to achieving anything with your fitness. I've then got something to compete against. So I tell myself I have to at least achieve what I achieved last time. Mm-hmm. And even if I just a tiny amount, minuscule improvements are made based on last week, those minuscule improvements over the course of 20 weeks are actually massive wide golfing improvements. So not just so you actually seeing your reps going up or your weights going up, but you're really going to start to experience that your physique has changed as a consequence of that too.
Yeah, so you're doing the exact same principles that you'd use in the gym, the progressive overload.
Yeah,
constantly
absolutely.
And I'm guessing you're being a little bit more creative with it, because I've seen, some of your posts, you're having to not just progressively increase the weight, but maybe reduce the, time that you're doing, like, let's say, for example, a shoulder press, or you're having to use a single hand to get the extra weights on the dumbbell.
Yeah.
You have to be quite creative, but ultimately it is the exact same process as someone in the gym.
It is. And again, it's like what I spoke of about in terms of understanding method and technique and posture. If you start with that as your key, and then as you have equipped yourself with that capability, you can slowly but surely increase intensity levels, providing that isn't to the detriment of the accuracy of your movements. And I think if you understand good movement, you can exercise with anything and anywhere, really, whether it's body weight, whether you're lifting up some sort of a mundane object, you can sort of fill a bag up with tins just to create a bit of weight. You've got a nice handle, that you can be inventive. But as well as that, whilst it's been quite trying for a lot of people to purchase things like screw lock dumbbells and that sort of thing during this period, because they're so sought after, or they're going to try and charge you like 200 quid for something that should cost 30 or whatever. If over time, if you're somebody that is interested and serious about their health, I would thoroughly recommend buying yourself a simple set of dumbbells, just so for future reference, at any point in your life, you've got them available, they are ready. Yeah. And in which case, there really is no excuse. And it's such a versatile piece of equipment. I do pretty much nearly everything in my workout with dumbbells on that basis. It's just so accessible.
Yeah, I don't even think I need to ask you questions, because I was about to finish. The last question I was going to ask was, what's the one bit of kit you recommend for people to have at their house? But you've taken it already. What are those ones that change, rather than the screw lock, the ones I see people where you leave half the weight in the stand. I don't know what they're called. Someone will probably put it in the comments. But
yeah, some sort of magnetic device, isn't it?
Unclip the bits, and they got to about 35, 40 kilos, and I can't think for the life of me what they're called. You unclip the weight you don't want, and it leaves it in the rack.
Yeah, that's it. Ultimately, same principle, isn't it? So those or screw dumbbells, anything like that's going to do the job.
You just like the old school feeling of screwing the
old.
Yeah,
absolutely. Oh yeah, one of the old Rocky movies.
Clang it on, bang.
This is it. Start squeaking halfway through your set when the plates start rolling off the side. You got to start rebalancing it. And that's a good little test. Back when I used to lift heavier weights, because I've kind of curbed my ego a lot in the last couple of years and focused more on a higher repetition range with my exercises, and I don't tend to lift quite as heavy as I used to. And that's just through, a good 20 odd years of weight training. You're going to experience forms of wear and tear. And I think you have to start being a little bit more joint conscious as you do get a bit older anyway. And it's just on the basis you've been doing it for so long. Where was I?
you were answering all our questions before we answered. That's where you were going.
Yeah.
That's going again, wasn't I? I'm trying to work out what my point was that I was coming to then exactly. I did get a little bit.
I think you're just big league. That's the point.
Carried off on a tangent. I think I'm big league myself.
If I may, obviously, look, we both have a shared passion for wrestling. It's kind of what brought us together. We've gone on these amazing adventures. We even ended up on WWE TV. Made our debut last year.
Oh yeah, it's the best segment on any network show they've ever exposed to the universe.
That's right. We've got our own YouTube channel, by the way, the official Golden Streak. Anyway.
Boom. Oh, and on that note, hold on. I've just looked at the time, and let me just see. I think I'm about to receive another message from the production truck. Yeah, apparently we're going to... What's that, Underground? We're going to introduce a new segment to Gym Tonic this week called Golden Streak Takeover, Gym Tonic Underground. Could somebody please hit my music? What? Get your posters on, boys. Get the arms out.
Boom. There we go.
That'll do nicely.
There we go.
And by the way, I've got the license to use that bit of music, Tim. So we're good.
Mate, I don't think it matters. We swear so much, and
We'll be all right.
I don't think our two viewers will care.
We are, anyway.
If I didn't scare them off in the first 3 hours,
And then
I would have just done so now. Yeah.
They're both in the other room doing a quiz anyway, both of our viewers, so it'll be fine.
Yeah, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Wrestling, the impact it had on your life. Talk to our audience about that.
All right, let me just dig spiritually deep and see if I can focus my answer through the dumbbell of destiny. Whoa, when I was a young boy, I was enthralled by WWF at the time, wrestling, and a particular character, the Ultimate Warrior. He was a long-haired fiend. He was incredibly intense. And it was only in recent years that I discovered that his character was of some form of Native American origin, which I also thought was quite cool, because I like that sort of thing. And anyway, he was full of tassels, full of muscles. I've never seen, other than the Big League Boys on the show tonight, I've never seen a physique like it. It still inspires me to this day. And sadly, he passed away several years ago. And I still keep his birthday. It sounds ridiculous and massive fanboy stuff, but I have his birthday in my calendar in my phone on the basis that I will always listen to his theme tune on his birthday every year, because he had such an incredible impact on my life. In many respects, watching that guy as a little kid is the reason why I got into weight training, got into PT, various avenues that I've gone down in life are all very much, I feel, as a consequence of I suppose my formative years, because I really watched that show when I was quite young. And I was privileged back in 1992, when I was very little, to be taken to Wembley to see SummerSlam 92, which was headlined by Macho Man Randy Savage, oh yeah, and the Ultimate Warrior. And yeah, it's right up in the nosebleeds. You know, but my sister and our brother-in-law took me and my two brothers of a similar age. We just had the time of our life. And those sorts of experiences, that's where it all began for me. My love of weight training, as I say, and which has really just led me down all these avenues. So it's had a massive, overwhelming influence on my life.
We had two listener questions, and it seems to be a theme of this show that you've answered one of them without us even asking it. The question we had...
Well, I like the sword of omens. Sorry to interrupt you there, Tim, but like the sword of omens from the Thundercats, I have sight beyond sight. And I anticipated these questions being asked, so I thought I'd just get them out of the way now.
We had F1_Ryan, as always, biggest fan.
Excellent stuff. Hello, Ryan.
Ultimate Warrior or Hulk Hogan? And I think you may
I think you've got your answer, brother.
The second question was, what got you into wrestling? They have to answer one or the other. Was it the fancy costumes or the tiny pants?
Oh, it's definitely the tiny pants. But yeah, no, we used to have a video shop down the road from us, and we were all toddling off down there, again with my sister. So thanks, Carolyn, for having that beautiful impact on my life, because in many respects, if you didn't take us down to the video shop regularly to, you know, rent out great things like Beetlejuice and Edward Scissorhands, I never would have discovered on one of those shelves a really old WrestleMania tape. And me and my brothers were like, who's that yellow spandex wearing fellow and this, you know, massive giant? And I was like, let's have a look at that. Sounds cool. So we took it home, had a look, loved it, and it all kind of went from there.
Awesome.
So yeah, pants.
Pants, yeah. Awesome, awesome. Right. We're coming to the stage of the show called In the Bin, basically.
Oh, yeah.
Tim, myself, and the guest, who this week is you, we're going to nominate something to put in the bin that we don't like and we just want to get rid of in life.
And we're 1-0 down, Chris. Last week, socks and sandals won pretty easily. I'm not going to lie. So we need to up our game.
Exactly. So, Tim, would you like to lead the charge? What are you putting in the bin?
I keep changing my mind, as you know, and I can't remember now what I've changed it to. I'm going to go with the thing that I said from day one when we first thought of the idea of this ridiculous show, and that was Crocs. I don't have anything.
Yeah, they've got nothing on these bad boys.
Oh, exactly.
Look at them.
I don't even want to give you my reasons. I just need to say Crocs, and that's all I need to say.
That's fair enough. I will hand over to our guest, Ollie. What are you nominating?
Oh, well, as you all know, I can't be trusted to be too serious. It's been a massive heel turn, which for those of you that are not that familiar with pro wrestling is when one of the key characters turns into a bad guy. I'm actually going to throw episode 2 straight in the bin. Big Stu, I challenge you. 1-on-1 SummerSlam this year. August 23rd, guest versus guest. It's on.
I won't tell you who our guest is in a couple of weeks, but we won't be throwing that episode in the bin because they're pretty large. So
yeah, I'll keep my mouth shut.
We won't put all the guests in the bin.
No, just Stu. Sorry, Stu.
It's all right. I love Stu, so I can say that, but I probably don't know the other fella, so I'll watch myself.
I don't even know. I don't even want to go now. I was going to say traffic wardens. Simple.
That's fun.
Yeah, they need to do one, mate. There's one there in my area. He goes up and down on a moped now. He just goes up and down on a moped because he knows that he can just sneak around. No,
he needs a quick getaway as well. Yeah.
There was one last week, and I saw them ticketing a van, and the lady was hiding behind it, and the owner was in front, you know, like chatting to someone, and she's like peering around the side, taking photos, and hiding back behind, and then she walks around and gives it to him, and walks off. You know.
Liberty's proper like go-go gadget neck. Feeling one of Brother Chris's excellent jokes from the other day when he was up to all sorts with his arms.
I was cooking, I was cleaning, I was answering emails, answering phone calls. I was like
I do have one thing though with traffic wardens. Yeah. Without traffic wardens, what happens that day when you leave the house to get in your car and someone's blocked your car in? And they've just parked and a big truck over your drive, and you think, well, it doesn't matter, I'll get ticketed soon.
And that used to happen to me a lot at the old apartment that we used to live in, actually.
So basically blow my idea out the fucking water.
All right, episode 2 in the bin.
Here we go. Hashtag wish.
SummerSlam.
Oh.
Without episode 2, we wouldn't have episode 3. So episode 3 would now be episode 2.
That's
Oh,
all right. Not that special at maths anyway.
Oh.
Well, that was it. Comment below if you want Crocs episode 2.
Proper libs running wild if episode 2 goes in. I do apologise.
Oh.
Oh, Chris, carry on, mate. I can't compose myself.
Oh. Finish off this fucking train wreck.
Yes, I got one out of Brother Chris. I thought it was only going to be me reprimanded for the swears.
Oh,
no.
bollocks, mate. We always do it. Well, actually, that's a lie. Chris normally goes first.
It's normally me, so I'm glad someone hit the mantle. We have got 5 quick questions for Ollie. Here we go. Number 1, favourite alcoholic drink?
Rum.
Ooh. Just straight?
Just rum.
Just rum.
It's supposed to be,
Next is supposed to be quick.
Come on, Tim, it's supposed to be quick. Number 2, favourite food?
Pancakes.
Oh, number 3, favourite exercise / body part to train?
Wide pull-ups.
Oh, Tim went for the old biceps. I mean, you would if you got biceps.
Bicep out that. Yeah, there we go. It's all in.
Number 4, dream job.
Pro wrestler.
Fucking right.
Yeah.
And number 5, favourite music to train to. And there's a second part. What's your answer to that, first of all?
Rock music.
Okay. And the second part is, we need 2 songs for the Gym and Tonic playlist. That's going to be on Spotify. Give me some 2 songs.
All right. Excellent. Seek and Destroy by Metallica.
It's the second Metallica.
And Zombie by Bad Wolves.
Okay. I like it. So there we go. We have updated our playlist.
We will get it up. I want to go back one question. What would your name be? Your wrestler name?
I think Hollywood.
Yeah.
And what would the intro look? In fact, what would the intro look like? I mean, you might as well just do it now while we're on the show, mate. That'd be a sick ending.
Give me a minute.
You've got this planned already.
Come on. It's in the room. Oh, it's here. It's here. We're good. If you can still hear me, bear with me. It won't be long.
We can hear you off screen. This is great. For those listening on Spotify, Oliver is off screen.
I'm off planet.
We hope he'll be returning. Here he comes. Oh, yeah.
The champ is here. Boom!
Here he is.
Some great music. I'll roll out. I'll probably be surrounded by a bevy of dancers and such. We'll probably get some pretty fantastic lights flashing. There'd be a strobe warning for anybody in the crowd with epilepsy. And I'll just kind of work my way down to the ring.
Styling.
Strumming away.
That's it. Styling, profiling.
Reaching across, of course, to my tag team partner, Brother Chris of the Golden Suns.
Boom.
Boom. We're just getting a ring and tear it up.
And what would your finisher be? What would be the Hollywood finisher?
Do you know, I've always quite liked the rock bottom, although we have more recently invented a move called the G trigger, which is the essential golden trigger knee strike. Well, it's basically to knock someone's head off with your knee.
Simple. Anyone can do it.
Is that it? Are we done? I don't know.
Yeah, I think we're done.
Anything else? Yeah.
So, I mean, that was incredible. The last thing we really want to ask you, well, we haven't even asked our main question yet, which is the whole purpose of the podcast was about exploring the balance between the shredded Ollie lifestyle and the, going out partying lifestyle. I feel like you do it all. Do you think there can be a balance?
Yeah, have a go.
Yeah, do you think there can be a balance between the party, eating junk food lifestyle and the shredded chicken and broccoli lifestyle? And where does it start?
What really does help is when you try to look after yourself and sustain a pretty balanced diet, for the most part, for example, last night I had 2 pints of Guinness. And I felt all right. So I felt very merry with it, but definitely when I started to wander about a bit, I realised my legs were a bit wobbly, so it doesn't take much. So on one hand, if you do try to maintain a reasonable degree of fitness, you know, you have a very proud, lightweight and very cheap status with regards to that, which is handy, really. It's quite nice, isn't it? So you can make a little bit go a long way, makes your body quite sensitive to these sorts of things. So there's a lot of plus sides to that, provided you don't throw up everywhere, or like I did several months back before lockdown, wound up in a good mate's toilet butt naked, because I figured at the time, it's about 3 in the morning, we didn't want to disturb his wife. And I thought to myself, if I get undressed, I'm not going to puke all over my clothes. Apparently I hit them anyway, because I woke up the next morning on a blow-up bed and some little thin sheet, pretty cold, stark bollock naked, and only to find out as my mate came wandering in that all my clothes were in the tumble dryer, because, as I say, I'd sprayed everything. So there is that, you know, with the whole lightweight status. It can get you into a lot of trouble, but it's not to say it's not fun.
So the answer is yes.
I've really answered your question comprehensively there. But
it's a yes. It's a yes. You are shredded, the most shredded man I know 24/7, and you vomit all down yourself after drinking. That's a big fat yes. So the final thing from you, Ollie, is what's your sort of top tip for anyone who wants to live a healthy, happy lifestyle, being their best they can be? What's your top tip?
I would say, for example, don't chase, and I use the word chase, what someone else is. I think you'll really be satisfied if you do that. I think instead maybe use others that you see to be working hard as an inspiration, and maybe use the people that you care about, which certainly you should be one of. And focus on blossoming into the delightful butterfly that only you can be.
Look at that. Drop. Hey guys.
Chris, I always do this at the end.
Tim.
Do you want to close us down, mate, before YouTube closes us down?
I think we've been
blacklisted ages ago.
Yeah, we've been
I think there's a thing called like YouTube Red or something. What's that?
That's a whole other channel.
Sounds a bit more risque, doesn't it? I think we've been moved over there.
Anyway, Ollie, thank you for joining us on this delightful journey.
Yeah. And thanking the pair of you for letting me just run wild and just spitting it all out.
You'll be back, mate. You'll be back. It was a very entertaining episode. I'm going to have to watch it back because there was so much information and so many knowledge bombs and so much positivity that I'm going to have to watch it back myself to motivate myself to get through the next week and the next week.
Yeah. So there you go, guys. Take the positivity, embrace it, go about your day. Be like Ollie.
Breathe it in and smell the fitness. Globo Gym, it is for you.